And there is no 22, thank you for letting me know. Phantom 2 Continental is not coming up, so we're going straight to the Hispano Suiza, the J12 1935. Look at that, isn't it just magnificent? The Spanish Army general and a Swiss engineer joined forces and created Hispano Suiza all the way in 1905. And it was an amazing, amazing engineering. They made great engines. During the war, of course, car production stopped, so they started making engines for planes. After the war stopped, back to cars, and they had great experience of making the 12-cylinder engines. The J12, the 12-cylinder, was the best you could buy at the time. It was the fastest, the most expensive, one of the best chassis that you could buy, the money could buy in 1935. This beautiful, elegant body by Van Veuren was also one of the best coach builders, which really suits the car, the best chassis with the best coach builders, and it's made one of the most elegant 12 cylinders 1930s cars. Look at the cars as they come by and the evolution of design. Look at the wings are getting longer and fared in. Look at the side mounted spares. These are all very luxurious options that people could request when having a car built in the 1930s. One of 8 J12s built, and about as good as it gets when it comes to Hispano Suiza.
It is indeed, Max, and it's another Peter Mullen car driven by Peter and Mary Reeve, and once again, you're going home with another award. I'm sure Peter will be delighted. Thanks for bringing her.
So the J12 you saw was from 1935. Look at that. What you have coming up is also from Europe, but this is a Lancia. Lancia Astora Pininfarina Bocca Cabriolet. You know, Lancia was always innovating with their chassis and their design, and here they went a little bit backwards, and they had a ladder chassis so that it wasn't a unitary construction. You could have it bodied by who you want. And one of their main dealers in Italy had the idea and went to Vincenzo Lancia and said, let's have some cars, let's build a very small series of cars, and let's have them bodied by Pininfarina. And the story goes, well, as you told me today, that when they were testing the car, the very first car, one of the things that they noticed is that, well, it started raining. It's quite fitting that it's raining now. And they came up with the idea of having an electric hood. So one of the very first cars from 1936 to have this electric hood. So the Astora Pininfarina Cabriolet, again, the chassis, the running gear was as good as it gets. An 8-cylinder this time. This was the top of the line of Lancia at the time. It was unofficially planned for Mussolini. I think Mussolini and one of his friends was going to make Rome the capital of Europe again, or the world. It never actually went to Mussolini. It was for the World Exhibition in Rome, but it stayed in Rome with a very famous count, still displaying its Rome number plate. So this design, only 5 or 6 cars built, only 2 in this long chassis. All the idea of a dealer, the Bocca brothers, and just look at it. Typical 1930s streamline. Look at the wheel discs. Look at the shape of the headlights. This is streamlining from the 30s at its best.
Thanks, Max. I just want to also thank you for bringing the car, because I know Bob Bishop, the owner, is in the US. He's a victim of COVID-19, I'm afraid, like a lot of our entrants are, but still felt that he wanted to bring the car today and have it shown. It's an absolute masterpiece. It even drove on the tour in front of me for 91 miles through the Cotswolds yesterday in pretty different weather, but thank you so much, and please thank Bob again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Lancia Astora. Long wheelbase. Look at the sheer size and how low with the lowered windscreen. Now, a sports car, SS 100. This is a 2.5-litre Jaguar SS 100 from 1936. Now, there's a really good story behind this car. Of course, the SS 100. Then, of course, the name changed from SS cars to Jaguar. You can imagine SS wasn't the best name or brand for a car manufacturer, so William Nines pounced on the name, on the idea of changing it to Jaguar. But the nice story about this SS 100, we can tell you about how well it performed in the trials, how good it was. But the great thing is that the owner actually had a little matchbox model of a Jaguar SS 100. And it turns out that on the cover, on the box of the model, there's a picture of an SS 100, and he found out it is this actual car. How great is that? So he had a model of this actual car, this actual registration number, and he found this actual car all those years later. He's even tracked down the artist that did the illustration, the drawing. If you have time, if it's here, I really encourage you. He's got the Matchbox car. If it's not raining, I'm sure he'll have it out, but have a look, and that's the actual car that was on the toy box that he had when he was a kid. I mean, how great is that? I think
cool.
It's just amazing.
So cool. Peter, Sue, the judges absolutely love this car, and I'm delighted to present you with the winner in your class. Congratulations.
A very well-deserved win.
And a little bit of Boodle's branding I see as well there with the umbrella.
Goes with winning. It goes with winning. Well done, congratulations. Thank you, thank you. Class F celebrating 110 years of Alfa Romeo, and what a way to start. This is the Alfa Romeo 8C 2300 Zagato Spider from 1931. Now listen to that engine, straight 8 compressor. This was as sporty as it got. This is the finest, without a doubt, pre-war car in existence, bar none. You know, they say the greatest cars, the GTO, the Ferrari 250 GTO, the Mclaren F1, if you will. Well, pre-war, there is no doubt that the Zagato Spider is the very best. You know, Enzo Ferrari, before he founded the Ferrari brand, was actually running a team of Alfa Romeos. That was his first job. He was team manager for Alfa Romeo, and as you see on this car is a Scuderia Ferrari car, because it was run by Enzo Ferrari, and he had people like Tazio Nuvolari driving cars for him. And actually, it's called a Monza. Why? Because Tazio Nuvolari in 1931 won the Monza Grand Prix in an 8C, and so it adopted the name. So a connection between Ferrari, between Alfa Romeo, and what you see here is, I say it again, it is the ultimate pre-war sports car in beauty and performance. To drive, it is absolutely sublime. Thank you so much for bringing your 8C Zagato Spider, but don't go away.
Before you go, Ian, I did say it was worth coming today, didn't I? The judges, again, they love this. Thank you so much for bringing her. And you guys won the class win. Well done.
Congratulations, class winner, Ian, for the 8C Zagato Spider. Well done, guys. Twin mounted spares, because of course at the time the roads were not as good as they are today, so you'd have two spares just in case. Keeping on the Alfa Romeo theme, the 8C 2300 Cabriolet is the same engine, that 8C engine, but there was different rules for different races. Hello guys. Certain races like Le Mans, you had to race with a long chassis car. So of course Alfa Romeo had a long chassis, which you see here in front of you, and just before was the shorter chassis car. Same performance, probably more stable, but it was all down to the rules and racing at the time. And also there were clients that wanted more room. As you saw, the short chassis car didn't have very much space, but still the same running gear. Now remember, the same engine was in the Grand Prix cars. So can you imagine? It's like today, you're going to McLaren or to Ferrari and ask to have them build you a car with one of their Formula One engines. The engine that's in this car was used in racing, was used in the Formula One, and the performance that it gives you on the road is simply sublime. It's light, it's powerful, it's everything that you want. So two great examples of Alfa 8C, the short chassis that you saw just before, and here, long chassis that would have raced at places like Le Mans or at Brooklands. Mihai, thank you so much for bringing the 8C. It's always a pleasure to hear it and to see it. Going along through time, we're 1940s now. Again, look at the design of these Alfa Romeos. Look at the evolution of the Alfa Romeos. This is a cabriolet body, so a car, a much more sort of formal touring car. This would have been ordered by a gentleman that wanted to go touring through Europe. And I say touring quite ironically because this car is actually bodied by touring. you see here, Touring Super Leggera. So the Super Leggera was a way of constructing the bodies on the cars, not using ash wood, but using a thin metal structure to hang the body on, to keep it as light as possible. Only 3 of these cars exist in this touring style. This one still has original engine, original body, so really a very rare car, and it would have been very expensive at the time to order a touring bodied Alfa Romeo in this 2-door cabriolet. One of the details I do love is how they have started to fare in the lights. So you saw the other cars, we saw the lights were always sticking out. Today, we think fared in lights are absolutely normal, but at the time, it was sort of the advance. It was looking for making a more aerodynamic shape. So a 6C 2500 S Cabriolet. Thank you very much for bringing your car over. This is really an elegant sports car. Along the same lines, 2500 Cabriolet, again the 6C engine, the 2.5 litre, but this is a different body maker, much more formal, not as sporty. Carrozzeria Garavini, based out of Italy in Turin, a small carrozzeria that was making a very limited, very small number of cars, and it's I find it very interesting to compare the 2 cars to see the different shapes and the different lines that 2 bodybuilders were actually making. An Alfa Romeo body by Carrozzeria Garavini is actually very rare. He did very, very few cars, and it's interesting to see how they often keep a similar grille, because that's an identifying feature of the Alfa Romeo. Still, again, as I said, that 6-cylinder, 2.5 litre engine running gear in this car. So an Alfa 6C 2500 with a Carrozzeria Garavini body style. Thank you so much for bringing it along. Thank you, thank you.
Peter,
Oh, Peter.
don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. We have something for you, man.
We have a lot of special owners that come to Salon Privé. We have people that come maybe every 2, 3, 4 years with different cars in their collections, and then we have some people like Mgy Teeter in the Alfa, the long wheelbase you saw a few moments ago, that have entered for 10 years now, which is incredible. A car every year for 10 years. And then we have people like Peter Hayden. And Peter took me by the arm yesterday. We had a little kind of kick-off cocktail over in the Ferrari pavilion over there and said, Andrew, do you remember me back at the Hurlingham Club days? And I said, Peter, how could I forget? Peter is an absolute diamond of a guy. He's just one of the most wonderful men you could ever meet. He's so passionate about his cars, and if any of you got time afterwards, have a quick chat with Peter, but don't expect to go home early. Peter, I'd just like you to say a few words about your cars and why you attend Salon Privé and what you love so much about being here.
Well, this will be about 45 minutes. I'm used to lecturing, but I'm not going to do that today. I just want to say that my passion for old things has never left me since I studied Robert Browning, and he wrote books about Robert Browning. And the whole idea of Browning's poetry was to revivify the past in some way. If he could bring That's My Last Duchess painted on the wall, or Fra Lippo Lippi, or Andrea del Sarto, I'm sure you remember those from your school days. My passion was for restoring old buildings, bringing them back to life, making them functional again and alive again. Same thing with automobiles. I have a number of cars that were, like this car was a basket case. And my passion was bring it back to life. And here, you can hear it. It's running. So that's why I do this. It's a wonderful way of giving something back to younger generations that wouldn't know anything about these automobiles or the buildings that I've restored too. Okay, then, Andrew. By the way, Andrew's a peach of a guy. You know that, right?
Okay, thank you, Peter. And just before you go, this is one guy who actually beat COVID-19. Life's got to go on, right? We're going to beat this pandemic. It's not a case of when or even if, but it's when. Peter actually beat it because he thought, to hell with this. I know I'm in the US and I shouldn't come, but how about a quarantine, first of all, for 2 weeks in the UK? So Peter has been holed up in not a bad place, the Royal Automobile Club in Pall Mall, for 2 weeks doing quarantine, just so he could be here to today with his beloved Alfa. A massive round of applause, please. For
Well
Peter.
done, Peter. The last one of the Alfa Romeo 6Cs that we have for you. Still the 2500, but this is an SS Super Sport. SS being the sportiest, the most powerful 3-carburetor setup, and really only 63 of these cars were produced. Obviously, they were at the time the more expensive. This car, a Pininfarina body, a 2-seat Pininfarina Cabriolet. So the sportiest cabriolet with only 2 seats, and of course the more powerful engine. And interestingly, it was sold to a famous Italian Grand Prix driver when new. He was a works driver for Alfa Romeo, Mercedes, Maserati. So I can just imagine him in 1948. This is the car he'd buy, an Alfa Romeo, the SS, the Super Sport, with the more powerful engine and a very sporty 2-seat open Pininfarina body. Thank you very much for bringing the 6C.
And just before you go, again, another American collector. Sean couldn't be with us. Thank you for coming over to look after the car. And please make sure Sean gets his trophy when he gets back home. Thank you. I just said to Max, don't spend an hour on this next car, because he could spend 2 days on this next car.
Well, it is. Am I allowed to say? Am I allowed to have a favorite, or I'm not allowed? I won't say it's my favorite, but it is my favorite, even if I'm not supposed to say it. Right. Post-war sports racers, and my favorite car of the concours, Ferrari 166 Touring Barchetta. And I could absolutely spend days talking about this car. Where do I start? I won't bore you for very long. 166, it does deserve a round of applause, doesn't it? Also because Anne Lee's driving it, which is great. All the way over from America. You were saying something about COVID? No. So, 166, but this is not just any 166. First of all, a touring-bodied barchetta. So, barchetta in Italian means little boat. Well, when it was presented for the very first Salon, well, the press, or one of the reporters, looked at the car and thought, it looks like a little boat. If you were putting this car in the water, you see this coach line here. The water would just sit here and it would float. That's the water line. It's like a little boat, una barchetta. But more importantly, the very important bit for this car is in 1949, this car won the Mille Miglia with Clemente Biondetti at the wheel. Amazing. And in the same year, 1949, it won at Le Mans as well, with Luigi Chinetti and Peter Selsden, I think it is. But Luigi Chinetti drove 22 hours, didn't he? I stand corrected. I wasn't there, but 23 hours. Oh, can you imagine driving this car at Le Mans for 23 hours and 43 minutes, and he won? This is a piece of Ferrari history. This is where it all started, in my opinion, for Ferrari. One of the most important Ferraris that you will ever see, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more, Max, and the judges absolutely loved it as well. And is it any surprise that you're going home with a class win here at Salon Privé? Congratulations.
A very well-deserved class win. Ferrari Le Mans winner, Mille Miglia winner, a true piece of history. The 166 Barchetta.
And if anyone's coming back on Saturday, maybe with some little fellas to have a look around, most of the Concours cars will be gone. Anne is going to leave this beautiful example here, and Anne will actually be on stage. So if you want to hear the longer 3/4 of an hour version, Anne, did you hear that? 3/4 of an hour, not all day. Then come back Saturday, because Anne will be on stage explaining the whole life of this wonderful car. But thanks so much again for bringing her.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A true piece of Ferrari automotive history. Double winner, Mille Miglia and Le Mans. Expertly co-driven as well, of course. After the Ferrari 166, there was the 212. This is the progression in Ferrari history. 212 picked up really where the 166 left off. This is a car that was launched in 1951. Oh, I even got a wink. In 1951, like the 166s, they were bodied with sporty bodies. This is a Vignale-bodied car. And it was sold new to an Italian gentleman, Pietro D'Acquarone, who was racing it when Ewan actually had his son race it. I mean, lucky son, right? Your dad buys a Ferrari and he says, here, go ahead and do some racing. But if you're an Italian Duke, that's what you should do, I guess, right? Shame my dad wasn't a Duke, he would have bought me a Ferrari to go racing. It raced quite a lot and then stayed in the family until 1960s and was bought by the Dubini family in Padova. And I can tell you, maybe I'm showing my age, but I remember seeing this car in Dubini's collection, I will say about 15 years ago. And you know what the best bit? The best bit when I saw it was the interior, and I'm so pleased to say that the interior is exactly the same it is today. It is an original interior on this Ferrari 212 Export. Export why? Shorter chassis, competition version of the 212. And actually, not taking anything away from your car, it's called, in Italian, this interior is called similpelle, which is a very fancy way of saying fake leather or vinyl. But it is a Ferrari and I'm not taking anything away from your interior. Terper for today, but similpelle sounds much better, doesn't it? Yeah, instead of vinyl. But an original interior of the 212 Export Vignale Barchetta. Thank you so much for bringing it along. It's good to see it. Woo! You saw the 166 Touring Barchetta, one of my favorite cars. I shouldn't say my favorite, one of my favorite cars. Well, here you've got a 166mm, so same chassis as the Touring Barchetta, but this is a Pininfarina bodied Berlinetta, so a closed car. And interestingly, as Harvey was telling me, the last actually, you're right. I have to stand corrected. This is actually my favorite car on the concours field. I made a mistake. I got confused because Anne was in the car and she was driving, but seeing James and Frida drive this car, it's definitely made me realize this is my favorite car of the concours. It's definitely my favorite car on the stage at the moment. So, the Pininfarina Berlinetta, a very important car. The last 166 chassis built by the factory, but very importantly, it was the beginning of the work, of the collaboration between Ferrari and Pininfarina, you know, that lasted years and years and years, and Pininfarina kept on designing cars for Ferrari for many, many, many years after. So 166mm, so the competition chassis, but with a very elegant, beautiful Berlinetta body.
Thank you, Max. And Jimmy, Frida, you have a little trophy to take home with you. And if you're going to lose to a Le Mans and a Targa Florio winning 166, right?
As well.
He meant to say Le Mans and a Mille Miglia.
Thanks, James.
Well done, congratulations, well-deserved win. It was actually great to see this car on the Mille Miglia last year. So these cars do get driven, they do get used. Jaguar now, ladies and gentlemen, 1955 Jaguar D-Type. Oh, listen to that. Look at the shape of this car. Absolutely superb Jaguar D-Type. This is the car that Jaguar built and designed to go win at Le Mans. Look at that side exhaust, the slippery shape of the car. It was built, it was designed for it to go quickly and to have success at Le Mans. It was the car, that 6-cylinder engine that they used, but it wasn't really in the engine. The innovation came in the chassis, didn't it? It came with this sort of monocoque center section with a chassis on the front rails bolted onto the center monocoque, which gave it lightweight and a very, very sturdy chassis, very low as well, very, very sleek, and a huge success in racing for the D-Types. And I think we can talk about D-Types forever, but one of the best things about this car is the originality. It is probably, I can't say for sure, but you'll tell me, it is the most original, one of the most original D-Types that is around. This is exactly how it would come out the factory. And you know, they say a car can only be original once. We love to see restored cars, but to have the opportunity to see a car that is so original, so exactly how it would have been built, is a real pleasure. So I really encourage you, because it's not very often that you see such an original D-Type. Take your time and come and look at it.
Gregor, thanks so much for bringing a few words. I know you know this car pretty well.
Thank you very much. Yes, they can only be original ones. This is the first production Jaguar D-Type. It went to an amazing character called Lou Brero, and he raced the car in the 12 Hours of Sebring in 1956. He took it to Nassau, and it came third behind De Portago and Carroll Shelby. And he was an amateur driver, so it was a great achievement. And in Nassau, they had a ladies' race. And so he met a girl there who could drive, and she won the Ladies' Cup as well. So I'm sitting on the original leather where this, this car won these great races, and Lou's son, Lou Jr., kept it till 1973, original, and then it went to the Moores collection in Liverpool, and then to a pal of mine in Jersey.
And now in good hands with you. Carefully driven.
I'm keeping it warm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gregor.
Hope we see you again. Thank you.
Jaguar D-Type. Two years later, Ferrari designed the 500 TRC. TR stood for Testa Rossa. Why? Because the engine had red can covers, which was such a signature of the 500 TR. And then, of course, 57, the rules changed in racing, and so the TRC was introduced. But just look at how low the car is. It is probably one of the most pretty, one of the most beautiful open-top Ferraris. So sleek, so low. The center of gravity was so low, and the livery on this car, I think, is very, very special. It's an Écurie-Francorchamps. Écurie-Francorchamps, Jacques Swatters, was the Belgian importer for Ferrari, a great friend and customer of Enzo Ferrari. And so when he ordered the car, he had it painted yellow because of the national colors of Belgium. It's great in the 50s. Each car manufacturer, each country would have its own national colors. Of course, Jaguars being green, and Ferrari's normally red, but in this case, as it was the Belgian team racing the car, it was finished in yellow. Tell me a bit, how long have you had this car? I was going to say, it's so long, not even he can remember.
30-something years.
30-something years, and I remember you were telling me the other day, or the other month, or the other year, how many races have you done in it?
150, 160 events, yeah.
How about that? 150 events since he has owned that car. Now, doesn't that deserve a round of applause? Because I don't know very many people that will use their car and then take it to a concours as well. The Ferrari 500 TRC in very, very, very good hands.
And also 57 class winner at Le Mans.
And also, sorry, of course, I get so excited.
And 7th overall.
Absolutely.
The first 6 cars were British.
Pretty good, right? You saying the British cars, or this one?
No. Well, I've had the D-types as well.
Of course, yeah. And a car with another Ferrari with Le Mans history. So the Ferrari 500 TRC from 1957. Thank you so much for bringing along.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Talking about national colours, here's the Aston Martin Db4 Gt, 1960 car. The Aston Db4 GT was designed and built by Aston Martin to go racing. It was based on the Db4, of course, but GT means that it has the shorter wheelbase. If you were to compare this car to a normal Db4, you would see that the wheelbase is shorter. There's less space between the back of the door and the rear wheels, hence no rear seats, making the car lighter and more agile in racing. But the very important part is also in the engine, and the Db4 GT had a very special trick twin plug head and twin plug engine, giving it more and more power. And it was a car that was racing against Ferrari short wheelbases and GTOs and Cobras. So it was a very successful car. It was a very fast car. Also noticed the fared in headlights. Again, this is not like a normal Db4, but this is to make it more aerodynamic, more quick, more slippery through the air. So a very special car, the Db4 GT, that may look like a normal Aston to the untrained eye, but actually the competition version. Outside fuel filler caps, all the small modifications on a car, and of course, a lot more power to make it go faster. Famously racing, of course, at the Goodwoods and Silverstones, and even today, a very competitive car. If you go to the Goodwood Revival, you'll see Db4 GTs fighting it out with lightweight E-types and Cobras. Thank you very much for bringing the Db4 GT to us. Fabulous, fabulous car. Absolutely. Post-war touring. So, touring cars, not so sporty. 1948 here. This is a Delahaye 135M. Interestingly, actually, Delahaye, a French brand, of course, built the 135, but here in a touring car, guys, it's also a car that went on to do race at Grand Prix. The 135, this particular car has a huge amount of history, and as I said, it's built as a touring car, built as a car that in the late 40s would have been used to go on trips and voyages, the more comfortable and less focused on having a lightweight body, but something that was more opulent, something that was more formal and a nicer car to drive. So thank you very much for the open car, open Delahaye. Unfortunately, given the weather, you can't see it open, but the open Delahaye 135M. MG coming up, 1949 Mgy Teeter. It's like a micro car, look at it. Tiny little MG. And I love the story about this car because the current owner's late father found the car on eBay, of all places. Imagine it was all the way in Cyprus, and he decided to go and buy and did a full restoration on the little MG. You would think that that it's actually quite a rare car, the little MG. It's not something that you see very often, and you would think, why ship it all the way back from Cyprus? But definitely worthwhile. The history of the car is all perfectly documented. It was sort of an inexpensive, open little car from 1949. Thank you very much for bringing the Mgy in. What a restoration. It's pretty impressive. I don't think you'll see another one in this condition. Fiat this time, Cabriolet from 1961. I say Fiat, but actually it's a Fiat Oscar 1500S. So Fiat had a little 1200cc convertible, but then they wanted to make a sportier version, so they went to Oscar and got the 1500 engine and fitted it to this little two-door rear drive convertible. Picture it in the 1960s, a sweet little cabriolet, and the best Italy can produce. So a Fiat with an Oscar engine, Oscar being the remains from the Maserati factory, and of course designed by Pininfarina. So everything that Italy had to offer was packed into this little car, and it was really the best that you could buy from Fiat, with the 1500cc engine derived, or which was bought by Oscar. So a Fiat 1500, or Fiat Oscar, I should say, 1500S. Thank you so much for bringing it along.
And Edward, just before you go, you guys, you were on the tour with us the other day, and you class runner-up today. Congratulations. Well done. The judges loved the restoration, seriously. Thanks, Edward.
Dino. Most people say Ferrari Dino, but actually it should be Dino. Actually, maybe you should tell us about the Dino. You're a bit of a Dino aficionado, aren't you?
Well, you know, there's a few variants, as we know. You've got 206 Dinos, which are super rare, Max. Did you know that?
I do know 206 Dinos all alloy, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Although
indeed.
I don't think anyone wants those. Everyone wants a 246 GTS. This is the car to have. Do you not think so?
Yeah, I think. You know, you've got the two variants, obviously, the 246, the 2.4 engine, the more powerful engine than the 2 litre, which no one wanted, according to Max. And you have the GT or the GTS, which I think is a wonderful, and I love the colour combination. Recently restored as well, beautiful.
Blu notte metallizzato. So Dino, It's not actually a Ferrari. It was a brand owned by Ferrari. It was a brand launched by Ferrari. It was the Dino because they wanted to separate the 6-cylinder cars to the 12-cylinder cars. So the Dino is a 6-cylinder, 2.4 liter in a, as you say, stunning color of blu notte metallizzato. But I tell you, one of the best things to me of the Dino is the design. Look at the design of this car. And often, or not often enough, do we talk about what is it like to drive and what is it like when you are in the car. And in my opinion, when you're sitting in a Dino, it's one of the best views that you can have, because you see the two hubs here from the wheel arches just above you, and you really feel like you're in a very sporty car. The lines of the Dino is one of the prettiest Ferraris, I shouldn't say Ferrari, Dinos, one of the prettiest cars that you can see. If you take some time to look at it, it is really quite something. So this mid-engine, 6-cylinder, 2.4 liter Dino Ferrari.
Thank you. And before you go, we've got Andrew Bailey driving his Dino 246 GT, a Barkaways restoration, as my 206 is as well, GT. Thank you.
Oh,
Ian.
you have a 206?
I have a little 206.
Ah,
the one that no one
I
wants.
thought nobody wanted
that
this.
one. And Ian, can I just thank Barkaways as well? Ian and the Barkaways team are our official tour support, and also they support all the cars on the concours lawn. You've done it for years at Barkaways. We really, truly appreciate the work you've done. But more importantly, we appreciate the work you do on these beautiful cars. Yet again, Ian, but Andrew Bailey as well, you guys are going home with a class win. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done, well done, well done. Next up, we have Class 1 post-war touring closed cars. And believe it or not, this is actually a Jaguar Xk 150 that you have coming up. 1958 car. Look at the design of this car. Now, there's only 8 Jaguars Xk 150s that were bodied by none other than, well, where? Bertone in Italy. But can you imagine ordering a car in England and then having it shipped all the way to Italy to have it bodied with this unique one-off design? It's one of the greatest, or thought to be one of the greatest designers of all time that has designed this. It is the Scaglione design. He was a genius of design. And one of the things that you pointed out to me is this beautiful XK E symbol on the back, and it's thought to be XK and then E for Sperimentale. It was a test. And even look at if you take the time to look at the interior of the car, it's much more modern than what you'd see on a normal XK 150. I think you said it was a 5-year restoration? 5-year restoration. It was all pleasure, no pain, was it, right? But the results are simply stunning. If you take the time to look at a normal XK 150, this is completely different. Completely different. Much more modern. Thank you very much for bringing us the XK 150S with the more powerful engine and unique body design. DB4 Series 2, interesting that it's coming up. So we talked about the Db4 GT. Now we have something. Look at the difference here in the front. You see, I was saying to you before, we were seeing the faired-in headlights to make it more aerodynamic, slightly larger. It's got the rear seats on the Db4. This is the DB series classic Aston Martin look. Still that same 6-cylinder Aston Martin engine. And interestingly, because this car was bought new in 1960 by an industrialist from New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, and I was reading that it's a car that actually took on holiday and toured around Europe before shipping it back to New Zealand, which I think is a great little story. Imagine coming over from New Zealand 1960, driving around Europe, and then sending your car back. The Aston Martin Db4. Thank you very much for bringing it along. But before you go,
don't go anywhere. The judges, once again, Guy, Ben, they love this car. I know it's your first time here at Salon Privé. Hopefully the start of many. And if you look right, you guys have just won the class for the post-war touring class. Congratulations.
Ford GT40 is coming up. You can listen to that engine. V8, Listen to that. This is actually one of the very first Mark I cars. So this is one of the first GT40s ever produced, and actually the first GT40 that was delivered to a private customer. GT40, why? Well, Ford, of course. GT because it's a GT car. How good is that? Sorry, we were having lunch before, we had some things to discuss. Ford, of course, GT because it's a GT car, and 40 because it was 40 inches tall. Quite smart, isn't it? So the very first of the cars delivered to a private person, first road car registered, and actually the car that was built in Slough, of all places, here, and delivered and remained in the UK. And one of the things, it's got lots of special features, which you're already looking at me saying, come on Max, speed up, but it's a GT40. This is the car that Ferrari built to go and, Ford built to go and beat Ferrari at Le Mans, and this is the Ford GT40. This is the car that actually did end up doing that. And look at the doors. Look at when you open the doors. Because the car is so low, it's got the cutout in the door amongst all these other special features of these cars, of these fins, the Ford badge on the front. And can you imagine driving this on the road? Sorry, you're telling me to speed up. I can leave it over to you.
Max, I can't imagine driving this on the road. Actually, no. You probably can. But
I
guys,
can because I have.
Congratulations, Richard. And you have won the class runner-up in the post-war tours. Well done. 2-seaters.
You did get a rosette. We were discussing at lunch whether they had a rosette or not, you see. 1970 Miura P400S coming up. What is considered to be the very first supercar. Another phenomenal design. Now we're on to talking about hypercars, but this is the car that really was the first supercar. Very advanced at the time to be a mid-engine car. At the time, everyone else was making front engine, but Lamborghini thought mid-engine is going to be a better balanced car and a better setup for the Lamborghini Miura. It is fast. Look at the details of the eyelashes. This is another Bertone designed, a 12-cylinder. This car was all about performance, all about going to, well, to be honest with you, nightclubs, not so much racing. It was about the autostrada. It was about going flat out and getting the best of performance. Lamborghini wasn't as interested in racing as Ferrari was. It was just about the flamboyant side, and hence, look at the colors you could get these cars into the greens and the oranges and the yellows. It was a really flamboyant car. This is the very first supercar. Thank you very much for bringing it along. You saw a Dino 246 GTS. Here you have a 246 GT. Right-hand drive, a 246 GT. Car that was delivered here to the UK by Maranello Concessionaires, which was the importer for the UK. And interesting color, verde pino metallizzato, green, metallic green. A great color for the little Dino. In the GT form, the shape gets even better, because if you look at the roof, it's got sort of a rounded roof. Today, all the roofs of these cars are absolutely flat. So the Dino, same running gear, same mechanically as the GTS, just the coupe version. So thank you very much for bringing the the Dino, the 246 GT. I keep calling it a Ferrari. Porsche. 3-liter RS. Now, Harvey, you were telling me this is a pretty special 3-liter RS. Tell me, remind me, who was it delivered new to? Give me the lowdown on this car, because I think this is one that you know quite well. Do we have a... there we go.
So it was delivered new to Lord Hesketh, and at the time he had a young guy called James Hunt who was driving some cars for him. So through James Hunt's Formula One career, this is how he got himself from the parties to the races.
From the parties to the... Oh, thank you so much. From the parties to the races. Can you imagine a young Hunt, some unknown Formula One racing driver that was using this car, this actual car, as his transportation from the parties to the races? I hate to think, or no, I don't hate to think, I'd love to think about the things that have happened inside this Porsche 3-liter RS. Now, you talk about history with cars, I'm sure this one's got lots of history. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Class J, post-war touring Citroën, all the way from France, DS19 Paris, or Le Paris. Interestingly, this is a Henri Chaperon design. Henri Chaperon wanted to make some special Citroën DS19s, and he went to Citroën to ask, and they wouldn't give him chassis. Initially, he had to buy a whole brand new car and then rebuy them, adapt them to his designs. But his designs were so popular, people really loved the Chaperon body, although they were hugely expensive, that Citroën eventually succumbed to his requests and actually supplied him cars that he would then modify and body for the very high profile customers. To give you an idea, heads of state, the president of France at the time, was using DS21s with these special Henri Chaperon bodies. And this is Le Paris. Only 9 of the Le Paris were ever built. It is a true work of art. I absolutely love it. Look at the rear of it, the suspension. Citroëns are underrated and fabulous.
Thank you, Max. And again, guys, you've got another trophy to take home to Peter. He needs a bigger suitcase. So, class winner, well done. I know he'll be delighted. And thanks once again for bringing it. Well done.
Maserati. 3500 GTI. I, of course, stands for Iniezione. Iniezione being the Lucas injection that was fitted to these cars. They were initially supplied with carburetors, but to try to get more performance, to try and get a better torque out of the engine, injection were fitted. And there was only 14 of these cars in right-hand drive worldwide. 12 of them, of course, came to the UK. UK was always a very large market for right-hand drive cars, but an extremely rare to have a Maserati 3005 GT Iniezione, and very often the injection, this Lucas injection that was fitted to these cars, was very difficult to get it working, so even rare to find a car that still retains the injection. As I said, one of only 12 cars, dark green metallic, and this actually was the factory demonstrator. So thank you very much for bringing your Maserati, your 3500 GT, and it's so nice to see a lady do it.
Tracy, don't go anywhere. Rob and Tracy Butcher, guys, you came on the tour with us yesterday around the Cotswolds. This is one of my personal favourites. No surprising also the judges love this car. Rob and Tracy have just got into the world of Concours D'Elegance. Rob and I have had many phone calls over the last months. He said, what is this Concours D'Elegance? What's this all about? And I said, well, it's about ownership, passion and excitement. And I think you've had all of that in abundance. You're also going home with a trophy as well. Runner-up in the class. Congratulations, guys. We're really thrilled.
Aston Martin Db5s and 6s coming up. Wow, look at that. Beautifully finished, beautiful, beautiful. Again, touring designed Aston Martin Super Leggera. Again, this way of constructing the bodies to keep them as light as possible. I love that sound from the Aston Martin engine. So the D5, ladies and gentlemen, this car was actually bought by Mr. Bond, I'm told, who was only 21 when he purchased the car brand new. Can you imagine buying a car at 21 and apparently kept it secret for his, from his parents because he didn't want them to know. Not quite sure where he got the money to do it, but he did do it anyway. Very, very low mileage car. The, of course, Aston Martin brand is synonymous with James Bond, isn't it? That's what really made him famous and launched the car into the stratosphere that we know now. So thank you very much for bringing your Aston. It is beautifully, beautifully presented and restored. Passione Ferrari. Ferrari 166 Inter Coupe. This is known to be the oldest Ferrari in the UK. This is, again, another touring design. But this 166, we saw the 166 which was the sporty version. This is the 166 Inter, which was the gentleman's GT. More space in the cabin. This is a 1949 car, so sold new in July 1949. So really, really one of the oldest, one of the very first Ferraris. Chassis number 17. So one of the first 10 cars, road cars ever built. Interesting to see the design here again of touring. He had a same mouth as on the 166 Barchetta, but of course then the rest of the car changes. 12-cylinder, still 2-liter engine. Very easy to figure that out. With the early Ferraris, you take the number, it's a 166, you times it by the number of cylinders, and you get the displacement of the engine. So a 2-liter, 12-cylinder Ferrari, one of the very first Ferraris produced.
Thanks, Max. And Peter Holloway driving with guests. Peter brought his 250 GTL in last year. Repeat here at Salon Privé, and once again going home with a trophy. Congratulations.
It does sound good. Look at that center exhaust as well. After the 166, I was saying to you before, we've got the 212. This is an Inter Vignale Coupe. So a 212, if you, this is a car built for racing. This is an Inter, so a shorter wheelbase, a lightweight body. This one bodied by Vignale. Always that same idea of that V12 engine in the front. And this is a car that was raced extensively in 1952 to 1956. You can feel it's such a sporty growl to it. And the portholes that you see here on the side, this is a typical signature of Vignale bodies. That was their styling. Vignale was more elaborate than touring. It was just a different style of body making. So thank you very much for bringing the 212. It sounds magnificent. Sounds really good. This is very special to have this Ferrari Lusso here. This is a car that was supplied new to decay, right-hand drive. It's a 250 Lusso. Why is it called the Lusso? Well, this is the luxury version of the 250 line. Lusso in Italian, meaning luxury. But one of the best things about the Ferrari 250 Lusso, or this car anyway, is that it's had 3 owners from new. First owner kept it for 20 years. Second, then it went into a collection and wasn't seen for another 20 or 30 years. And then it was bought by the current owner, and Barkaways did one of those painstaking 3-year, 4-year restoration, and it is absolutely magnificent. Blue medio. Look at this great blue finish, which is the original color. For many years it was red, and then recently restored, and they did the research and brought it back to exactly the original specification. So 1 of 22 right-hand drive Ferrari 250 Lusso. As I said, Lusso being the luxury model in the lineup. Thank you so much for bringing the car.
Thank you, Max. Guys, Mark, the Ferrari judges absolutely loved your car. You're going home with a class win here at Salon Privé. Congratulations, guys.
The next in our lineup of Passione Ferrari is the Lusso. Sorry, the Dino. I was looking at Lusso leaving and I'm seeing the Dino coming. As I said, this is the small, the baby Ferrari. The V6 2.5 liter, the beautiful, pretty design, and Enzo Ferrari named the Dino after Alfredino Ferrari, his son, who was actually the man who had the idea of making the 6-cylinder engine. Now, you say Ferraris are always 12 cylinders, but at the time, there was also a Dino 206, which was a race car, which was racing with that 6-cylinder engine. It was a mid-engine race car. So there was a whole line, a whole series of cars, race cars and road cars, with the brand Dino, which was all the idea of Enzo Ferrari. Thank you very much for bringing your Giallo Fly Dino. Here's another car that we were following on the tour, the Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona. This is what came after the 275 GTB4, and actually it's called the 365 GTB4, and the name Daytona is actually a nickname given to the car after Ferrari, 1967, came first, second, and third at the Daytona 24 Hours. This is a design by Fioravanti, which today might look like it's just a 70s car, but you got to think that when this car came out, most shapes were still round. There was no angular shapes, and this is really a departure from what Ferrari was designing at the time. It was a Fioravanti idea to have more an angular shape, no more rounded fenders. It's a new look and a new era for Ferrari. I said to you before, we saw the Miura, the first supercar. Well, this car came out at the same time as the Miura, and look at how different. Miura, Lamborghini was trying to be advanced. They had the engine in the back, but Ferrari was a more traditional man, and he wanted the engine, the 12-cylinder engine, to still be in the front of the car. Couldn't be more different. The Ferrari 365 GT4 Daytona, it is a fabulous car to drive. Plenty of power, isn't it? 12 cylinders, quad cam, he's giving me the thumbs up. Dry sump, it's quite the machine. Anthony, thank you so much for bringing it along. After the Daytona came the 365 GT4 DB. So, this is a Grand Touring. You see Ferrari evolving and now going for the mid-engine layouts. The name says it all about the car. The 365 indicates, as I said to you, the displacement of one cylinder. Multiply 365 by 12, and you find a total displacement of 4.4 liters. GT indicates Gran Turismo. This is a Grand Touring car. It was designed to drive in luxury from point A to point B at speed. The B indicates Berlinetta, meaning it's a two-seater small car, and Boxer, well, because it's got a Boxer engine. It's a 12-cylinder Boxer engine, so a flat 12. This is the new era for Ferrari when they went to mid-engines. Thank you so much for bringing the 365 BB. Now, ladies and gentlemen, slight change of program, change of plan. This is something quite special. Andrew has it, again, you're getting rides in all sorts of cars. Andrew hasn't organized to have one McLaren F1 here. He's arranged to have two McLaren F1s on stage at the same time. Now, this is quite something, and I can see how many cameras are going up. I think it's pretty special. So, hi Frida, again. McLaren F1 is considered to be, or is it just, the ultimate in road cars. Gordon Murray designed a very rare car. Gordon Murray was a genius. He made a car that was completely different from everything else. If you have time, have a look. It's got the center driving position that everyone talks about. It's got a fabulous BMW 12-cylinder engine. But I can tell you about history of McLaren. You can read all about the books. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably one of the most sought-after cars that you have today in the world. People will do anything and everything and pay a lot of money to get a McLaren F1. This is the GTO, Ferrari GTO of the modern era. This is unbelievable to have two McLaren F1s right here on stage at Salon Privé. I tell you what, it's giving me butterflies.
Thank you, Max. You guys have been here all day as well. You'll see it's not just these two we have here, but also there's 4 or 5, in fact 4 more in the concours, and one with Tom Hartley GTRs. We've got a couple of people that we've got to thank for that. Henry Winkworth-Smith, Dean Lanzanti, and James Banks over here. Thank you so much for helping us put this class together. 7 McLaren F1s at Salon Privé this year. I reckon 10 plus next year. There were many, many European collectors, one in Australia in fact, that couldn't come because of COVID-19. And the McLaren F1 classes here at Salon Privé are now going to grow and grow every single year. But an amazing collection. Thank you both for bringing these cars. These are going to be judged tomorrow by Peter Stevens, which is why there's no awards right now. So Peter Stevens, designer, extraordinaire. We'll be back to judge these very cars at midday tomorrow. Thank you, Max.
McLaren F1, feast your eyes, unbelievable, absolutely. Round of applause for 2 McLaren F1s on stage. There's a lucky driver in the silver car because I see he has 2 ladies in the car with him. He's sitting, driving in the center, smiling away. I'm pretty sure one is his wife. Well, after the emotion of 2 McLaren F1s, what should we do? I feel like we
stop right there, Max. That's it.
What a place to stop. No, there's no stop. Let's have some more cars.
We're actually going to bring a couple of surprise entries. We found a couple of owners, I believe, with the F50 and the XJ220. The F40, not bad, Sean. Come on. Here we go. Here's the F40, Max.
Ferrari F40 coming up on stage. Enzo Ferrari made a raw car with the F40. It was all about driving pleasure. 8-cylinder, twin turbo. If you drive an F40, I can tell you it's an exhilarating experience.
Have you noticed how Max can tell you about a McLaren F1, an F40, 288 TDO?
I get lucky, I get to drive lots of cars. Here it is. F40, F for Ferrari 40, because it was launched for the 40th anniversary of the company. It was designed to be a car that gave exhilarating performance. They were supposed to make a very limited number, but actually it was so popular, so many people wanted one, that they had to double and triple the production because demand for these cars in the late 80s was simply, as they say, off the charts. The driving experience, as I was saying, of an F40 is something to die for. Everyone will tell you it is just simply exhilarating. The interior is stripped out. It is as light as possible. It is not a car to go touring in, but it's a car to have a huge amount of fun. And I can say that many people, for many people, this is the poster car, isn't it? The wing on the back, the Ferrari badges on the front, they were all red. There was only one color for a Ferrari F40. This is any child's dream.
It is indeed, Max, and no surprise that it was adjudged to be the class winner. Congratulations, Brian, and thanks for ringing once again.
XJ220. Is that what we're bringing up next? The Jaguar. Now this is an impressive car as well. There was 12 designers and engineers that got together to try and design, or to put together, it was like a skunk project, to put together the XJ220. Initially designed to have a V12 engine, and then due to restrictions and oil crisis, they fitted it with a twin turbo V6. But having said that, it was no disappointment. This car can do 212 miles an hour, or it did 212 miles an hour in Nardo. This is, or was, the fastest production car of its time when it came out in 1994. But it wasn't just good in a straight line. You know, it's very fashionable now with modern car producers to talk about Nürburgring records. Well, when it came out, this car did a 7-minute 43 around the Nürburgring, making it the fastest production car around the ring as well. I mean, how's that for an impressive car? 6-cylinder, 2-wheel drive, and 212 miles per hour top speed.
I'm not sure anyone can hear us, Max, over this, but we'll give it a go. Simon and Mary Rowell, class runner-up. Congratulations, guys. Sean, if you would, thank you. And now, Max, we're moving on to yet another new class we've got here at Salon Privé called Classics of the Future. You've seen Classics of the Future pre-2000. Over here on my right is post-2000. Some incredible cars, and we'd really, really like to thank all the owners for bringing them along today.
First car we have is a Lister Nobly long wing continuation from 2012. It seems to be all the fashion to make old cars with modern running gear these days. Well, this is not the case. This is exactly as it was originally. Lister made a very small number of continuation Nobly cars for both road and for race. No modern mechanicals. This is handcrafted exactly as it was in the 1950, as it was built in period. This is a one-off sort of recreation. This is a true British performance and British workmanship from the 1950s, but brought back to us today. It's actually built now, all thanks to the guys at Lister. So a Lister Nobly continuation, really respecting how it was made in the 1950s. Thank you very much for bringing the car. It was good to see it out on the road. Sls Amg, a wink, a nod to the 300 SL gull wing with those gull wing doors. I have to say, I think this is definitely, without a doubt, a future classic. That 8-cylinder engine is Mercedes stable 6.3 litre, and to me, the doors are really quite special. I'm actually going to ask you guys, can you open the doors to give us a quick, there we go, a quick demonstration of how they work. This is exactly as was the 300 SL Mercedes that was built at the time, which was also a supercar, just like this one. So a little wink back to its past with the Mercedes-Benz AMG SLS.
And Max, how about this for a story? Amir driving, how are you doing? I got a call from Amir a couple of days ago saying my 488 Pista, tailor-made no less, is not going to be ready from the factory in time. Can I bring something else? So he just brought whatever else was in his garage. Thank you, Amir. We'll have you back next year with the Pista.
Well done. Ferrari F12 coming up. Not just any F12. This is the, oh, that's the AMG SLS leaving. This is the X-Factory car. This is the car that was the pre-production car. This is the car that was presented to the world. This is the car that was presented, unveiled at the Finali Mondiali in 2015, where Kimi Räikkönen and none other than Sebastian Vettel was there to drive it and to present it to the world. This is also the car that you may have seen Chris Harris, I would say, skidded, raced, slid around Fiorano. This is one of the first cars that anyone ever drove, the F12 TDF. TDF, why? TDF because it's named after one of the very successful Ferraris from the 50s, 56, 57, the Tour de France. Again, a Ferrari that was known for competition, that won the Tour de France, and so this is a little homage back to that 250 Tour de France, the TDF. So thank you very much. Not just any F12 TDF, but the very first car, the demonstrator, the one that we saw first. LaFerrari. LaFerrari Aperta, no less. This is the greatest and latest from Ferrari. Collectors worldwide dream, would love to have. There's only 200 cars built. The LaFerrari Aperta. This one finished in black. This is Ferrari, the same series of hypercars, the F40, the 288 GTO, the Enzo, and now the LaFerrari. And this is a moment in history as LaFerrari has gone into the hybrid. There is the V12 engine and the batteries on the LaFerrari Aperta. 70 years after the company was born. The LaFerrari Aperta, one of the rarest and most sought after Ferrari supercars available today.
Thank you, Max. And can I just say thank you to Chris Bucknell for bringing her Chris from V Management in Berkshire, no less, my old town. Chris has been very instrumental in getting something together called Veloce, which is an incredible charity that these guys have set up, which is taking place every single year. The owners actually give their pride and joy cars. We're talking D-types, GTOs, you name it. They bring them along, and then the public very generously donate towards the charities that Chris has. In fact, tell us a little bit of a few words about it, Chris.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So we created Veloce 3 years ago to raise money for a couple of charities close to the hearts of several of the people who we're associated with. The aim is to bring together the greatest cars on Earth with some of the most famous racing drivers on Earth, and charging our sponsors huge amounts of money, all of which goes to these amazing charities. So last year, to give you an example, we had Derek Bell, Damon Hill, Richard Atwood, Darren Turner, and lots of other wonderful drivers driving things like 250 GTOs, short wheelbases, D-types, C-types, and various other incredible cars. And we made £150,000 for our charities. Sadly, we had to cancel the event this year because of COVID, but thanks to the support of a number of people, including Andrew and David at Salon Privé, to whom we're enormously grateful, we think we probably have raised £100,000 this year. Not quite the 200,000 we were aiming for in normal circumstances, but still gratefully received by our charities. So thank you very much indeed for your support this year. It's been hugely appreciated.
Well done, Chris. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you very much, Chris. We like your aperta as well. McLaren now, 2010 Senna. The Senna was the ultimate track-focused car, or is the ultimate track-focused car from McLaren. And this particular car was inspired by one of the greatest racing drivers McLaren ever saw. It's inspired by the JPS livery of the Lotus 97T. It was Ayrton Senna's car. It was the car in which, inspired by that famous race to the Portuguese Grand Prix in Estoril, the second race of the season, where Ayrton demonstrated skill. It was a wet race, and he won the race from pole, and he lapped every single driver but one. And I think the owner of this car grew up watching Ayrton Senna, and so when it came to order his Senna, he very appropriately had this special JPS livery commemorating that great driver that Ayrton Senna was. Huge talent, great livery, the track-focused McLaren Senna. Thank you very much for bringing it along. Koenigsegg Regera. Regera means to reign. This car was built to reign over all others. I mean, look at the quality of finish of the Regera. Koenigsegg is a Swedish company. They build everything in-house. Everything is bespoke. Everything is handmade. It is an unbelievable feat to accomplish the quality of build that they do. I mean, look at the details of the car. Look at the gold pinstriping. And that's just not a gold stripe painted on. That is 24 karat gold leaf. 3 years to build, V8 twin turbo, another hybrid car. It's got 3 electric motors. And one of the other great things about this car is that, did you know that every panel that opens can be operated electronically?
Indeed I did, Max.
You
And
did.
I saw this again. Talk about enjoying your cars and driving your cars. You know, cars are meant to be driven, period. And again, Zach and his whole family joined us on the complete tour yesterday. We had a great time with you guys in the Miura as well. And this is a prime example of ownership and enjoyment and passion, all wrapped into one. And I'm delighted the judges have awarded it class runner-up. Congratulations, Zach.
Well done.
And can I just say as well, we've had some wonderful cars here today. We're finishing with the latest, greatest classics of the future post-2000. These cars have been judged by a couple of guys on my left here. So we got Freddie Atkins and Tom Howe. Thanks to you guys once again for a second year running for coming and judging these. I know that they barely got out of shaving, or maybe not even started shaving perhaps, but these are the modern day global influencers, and you guys with lenses over there I'm sure will know exactly who these guys are. I see them certainly at every single car and track event I go to, whether it's in Italy or Belgium or Holland or even the US. It's a pleasure to have you guys, and thanks for everything you do.
Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport here, ladies and gentlemen. The Veyron made headlines when it was launched. 1,000 horsepower, W-shaped W12 engine, 8-litre, fastest car, production car, if you can call it a production car in the world. This car, with no roof, can do 369 kilometers per hour. Carbon finish everywhere. It is luxurious, it is beautiful, it is an engineering feat. It is said that Bugatti lost money with every car they built. They put so much attention in every detail in this or these Veyron. The Veyron Bugatti Grand Sport, one of the fastest car in production when it came out. What an amazing machine. 1,000 horsepower on the road. How about that? Zonda, Pagani Zonda F. Orazio Pagani, Italian-Argentinian, or maybe Argentinian-Italian, moved, passionate about cars, moved from Argentina to Italy, worked at Lamborghini, and when he was at Lamborghini he wanted to make carbon, having a carbon enclave, to make carbon tubs, to really work with cars and carbon. And the story goes that Lamborghini said, no, we don't need that. So what did he do? He left and he did it himself. And this is one of the first cars that he produced. There's 140 Zondas in existence. He took a Mercedes, a 6-litre V12 engine. And this is the F. F stands for Fangio. Of course, a homage to Fangio. He then upgraded it to the 7.3-litre Mercedes engine. Today, these are hugely collectible cars. It's like a cult car today. The Zonda has gained immense popularity, and another car manufacturer based in Modena, working with carbon, and the attention to details on the Zondas are just second to none.
Thanks, Max, and no surprise, don't go anywhere. No surprise why this has won the class win here at Salon Privé. The Classics of the Future, post 2000. Congratulations, Sean, thank you. Freddie, Tom, tell us a few words about why you judged this car to be the #1 car in the class.
So, I mean, the Pagani Zonda is 20 years old now, over 20 years old, but in a class of the latest and greatest hypercars, it still stands out as one of the best sounding, best looking cars, one of the first ever cars to be finished entirely in exposed carbon fiber. It's got an ostrich skin interior. I just think the pantomime in the theatre with this car is like, you don't really get it anymore with modern cars, so it's really, really good to see cars like this still around and still in such great condition. So it really stood out to us for those reasons.
Thanks, Tom. I think we've got the next Max here.
I think so. I was going to say, you don't get this anymore with modern cars. To me, this is like a super modern car. Thank you very much for bringing the Zonda.
Thank you, guys.
Right, who can tell me what Zonda stands for then? Why is it called a Zonda? Oh, he's good.
Argentinian
he is
wind.
good.
There
It
you
is
go.
absolutely the Argentinian wind. That's impressive. 10 points. Make it 15 for you. Now look at this for a livery. McLaren Senna LM GTR 2020. So McLaren made a limited run of 5 cars celebrating 25 years anniversary of the historic win at Le Mans in 1995. First attempt of McLaren to go to Le Mans, and the F1s finished 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 13th. I mean, amazing, an amazing result. And so to commemorate this 25-year anniversary, they made 5 cars, each in the livery of the F1 that raced at the time. So this car is unique. This is the Harrods livery, that the GTR LM Harrods livery, homage to the car that came third at Le Mans in 1995. And each one looks better than the other, but this is really quite special, isn't it?
It really is, Max, and thank you so much for bringing her along. I hope to see you next year again at Salon Privé. Can I just say a massive thank you to Max Girardo, please, a massive round of applause to Max. And to all of the judges here again. We've just got enough time for tea, so we close at 5 o'clock, and we have to be pretty prompt tonight, if you can help me with that, please. But thank you all for coming to the Salon Privé Concours D'Elegance by AXA Day 1. Day 2 tomorrow is when we announce some more awards. A new award called the Churchill Cup, which is our design award, and we finish with Best of Show at about 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon for those of you that are here. For those of you leaving us at 5 o'clock tonight, thank you very much for bearing with us with the weather, and we'll see you guys next year. Thank you very much indeed.
Take care and be safe.